So today I put together a little bit of a list of future SpongeBob characters, and I want to talk about even more characters for the game. But this time I decided to focus on one particular universe, and I like SpongeBob. I like watching the show, and they have a lot of characters and potential. And I'm not saying there's no other shows that don't have character potential, like Danny Phantom, with a ton of villains that he has. But this is about SpongeBob. Maybe I could start focusing on maybe some other characters from these other shows. Maybe I can talk about Danny Phantom characters from future characters from his show, and so many characters from Johnny 13 to Spectra and many others from Danny Phantom. There's so many ghosts that he has to catch, and even more that he meets along the show as you end up watching. But this is not about Danny Phantom. We're talking about SpongeBob for picks that could end up maybe potentially appearing in a universe pack, and I definitely hope to see more. Maybe we'll get some information soon on what they're up to, whether their plans are going. Their plans going towards the end of the year, because we only got about one more month. We got December coming up next. In a few weeks will be in December, and with the winter season, they haven't even given us any sort of winter plans because they stopped right at around the fall season when Rocco came out. So I thought it'd be something different for a little bit of a discussion to talk about some future SpongeBob characters. So we're just gonna open up the roster, and hopefully we'll be able to get something new displayed in this particular category or this tab for news, maybe new potential updates and surprises that we don't know what they're up to. I wish I knew, but we'll just have to wait and see what they bring to the table. But let's start talking about some of these characters, and my list is just going to be in the description. I could have so many other characters added to it, but I only just selected a few of them, and you guys could share your list and some of the characters that you guys probably want to see for SpongeBob, and just many more characters. And I definitely want to be in the game. So I wouldn't mind being a playable character in the game. I even made my own little moveset too. But let's start talking about SpongeBob characters and many other villains, protagonists, or heroes and villains from his show. And I think SpongeBob has one of the best costumes in the game, and he's one of my favorites to play with in the game anyway from the roster. And just from in comparison to all the characters on the roster, just again, his costume is dope. His soda drinking hat, or his drinking hat, is a really good pick for this character. And I think other SpongeBob characters, and not even just him, it'll be dope for them to come out with a SpongeBob special update with new costumes for the characters and for the players to pick and select from. But just to begin my little list, just to start, I got Squidward. I know he's one of the most requested characters, and some of them, not all of these characters have been mentioned in the roster, and people won't really think of and really run to for additional characters, because you already got SpongeBob, you got Patrick and Sandy. Only 3 reps for the characters, and just many others that can get added into the game to expand this roster. But I'm starting with Squidward, and I think not only just because he's the most requested, but I think he has a lot of potential. And then some of these characters that I end up starting with to put at the top of my list, I already made a moveset of how those characters can play. Squidward, Mr. Krabs, Plankton, and I wouldn't even really try to put Plankton in this game by himself. He needs to come out and be with Karen, and I think that he can be a duo. They can be a duo fighter, and I really think that he has so much potential, as just as much potential as Squidward. Mr. Krabs throwing his money at you or something like that, and just his fighting ability with his big meaty claws. It'll be really funny to really see the developers implement his meaty claws as one of his offensive capabilities and attacks for his moveset. And they can even call it big meaty claws just to reference the Band Geeks episode and just different things like that that can get into the game. But Squidward, Mr. Krabs, Plankton, just like I say, I think he belongs with Karen. I can't really see him coming into this game without her. Or maybe if he's not with Karen, he can just be in a little bit of a battle mat. And when I thought of Plankton, it made me think of Tron from Marvel vs. Capcom. If you guys played that game, Tron was one of the bonds from Mega Man Legends. She was in control of a mech, and she can fight, well, he can fight just as similar to how she is in that battle mech, or one of the pirates mechs that she's always in control of. And as one of the bosses in Mega Man Legends, Plankton can be something like that. Yeah, of course he's going to be a lot smaller, and just because he's small, that doesn't mean he's not going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I definitely think he definitely can be in this game and deserves to be in, and he's one of my favorite characters, so I put him in my list. So Plankton with Karen as a duo fighter, an all-in-one package for a single purchase where you get both characters and they help each other fight. And I think that'll really be a nice little addition that they can add along with them. Just coming in between Sandy and Aang, it can definitely work out, and really a nice little fit. I don't know what you guys think. Some people have different opinions. Oh, he's too small. Let's get a different character in. I think he definitely would be a good character for SpongeBob. Another, not only a funny rep, but just a villain to stack up, because there's not many villains in the game. Shredder being an iconic villain in the game, but Plankton can add on to the antagonist of characters into the roster. Just moving forward, going Larry the Lobster. You know, he's like a lifeguard, but he's super strong. He can be a powerhouse. He could be a little bit slow, but he could be a tank, almost like Reptar. Just a little bit bulky, a little bit like Shredder, but he can definitely do some serious damage. Being a lifeguard, not many people talk about Larry the Lobster, so I put him in there as a potential character, and just with his flex that he does from the show, he can do something like that as a little bit of a taunt, where he can flex his muscles like he does in the show. And I think he really has a lot of capability and just potential, Larry the Lobster, so I put him in it. And some of you guys like Bubble Buddy, I put him in the game as well. I even made a moveset for him too, for Bubble Buddy. So I think he could definitely be able to shine too. Just different characters like Bubble Buddy, and then going as far as DoodleBob, I think he can be in the game too, because he was definitely destroying SpongeBob and Patrick. And you got to really, when they first introduced him from that episode, he can create things with his pencil and be able to create all types of different projectiles to really be a dangerous opponent on the field, on the battlefield. So I think DoodleBob can definitely get into the game too. And then not even just him, just another additional villain to add on, Manray. Y'all seen what Manray can do, and he can definitely be able to get in the game. That's another potential iconic villain, another character in one of my favorite episodes when they were trying to get him to be a good person, turn him into a good person. He just couldn't stop doing evil things and devious actions. So I think Manray would be a really good pick. And then Mermaid Man Barnacle Boy, I don't know what you guys think about them. Just another duo fighter. They can make them separate fighters, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, but just as a little idea, Mermaid Man can be able to use one of his water bubbles. Remember when he couldn't, just from an episode when he was trying to aim his water bubble, I'll hit him with one of his water bottles. He accidentally threw the water bottle at Captain Magma, which was basically Squidward, to douse his flames out. He said, wait, I'm Captain Magma. So he can use that water bubble. I can definitely visually see that as one of his potential moves, and the player can be able to switch between Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy to play with whoever they want to play with on the field, but they share the same damage percentage. So I really think that'll be awesome. And then some other ones to add into it, just other additional characters from episodes that I like. Flats. I almost thought his name was Flex, but Flats, I think he can be really strong too. Just as strong as Larry the Lobster. Flats the bully, I'm gonna kick your butt when he's gonna try to beat down SpongeBob in the boating school. Flats has a lot of ability. I think he has some good talent. I think he'll be a nice little pick that I added into the my little list for future SpongeBob characters. I definitely want to see. I was gonna put Flying Dutchman in this game, but he's already in the background in the Flying Dutchman ship stage, which is basically Patrick's stages. One of Patrick's stage for this game. I was gonna put him in it, but he has character potential too. But maybe what's stopping him from taking him out of the background and maybe him being a playable character too? You know, it's all types of different possibilities. But I didn't put the Flying Dutchman in this list. But instead of him, I was thinking about King Neptune. So King Neptune, I think would be a nice pick to be added into future characters. And I don't see people talk about him either. So outside of Squidward, Mr. Krabs, let's get King Neptune striking people with his Triton and doing different series of combos with it. I think he can really be nice too. And just to wrap up, just to close out, I'm gonna go Dennis the Hitman. Big guys like him. He could be the first giant character. He could be bigger than Reptar and Shredder. I'm going Dennis the Hitman to wrap up my future character DLC list for SpongeBob reps. Dennis the Hitman is so big in the show. Imagine him being in the game. I mean, of course, King Neptune is big, and he's pretty big too. But Dennis the Hitman, y'all remember him? I think he can definitely get into this game. I would like to see him in as one of the first giants to take over. It can definitely make this roster unique. You got a giant, yeah, it's a SpongeBob rep, another SpongeBob rep, but he's so huge and big. He's going to take up a lot of space, and he's going to be tanky. He's not going to be easy to launch. So you probably want to double up on him or get a different character like Reptar who hits hard or PCM to deal with Dennis the Hitman. But it's going to take a lot of hits, so they can really make him tanky to really be able to endure a lot of hits and very slow at that to fit the balance so he's not too overpowered. Yeah, he's going to be super strong, but they don't want to make him too powerful. But a big guy like that, he's going to be so dense. His density, he's just going to be so tough to really be able to launch. So I added him into my little list at the end. And just yet another character I don't see many people talk about. So Dennis could be the first ever giant to get into the brawl. And on the roster, in comparison, it can definitely expand. And I think a lot of people will be interested in seeing him into the game and trying him out. The first ever big character to be able to get into the game for the roster to stack up, I think he can shine. But that's my list. I didn't want to go too crazy with just several different characters with a mix of villains and some protagonists and just underrated characters that I think can get into the game for the roster. People don't really mention outside of Squidward and Mr. Krabs. I just didn't want to just talk about them and then just Plankton himself, but I mixed in Karen as a duo so they can come out together in a pack. Some of these characters can get into a universe pack. Some of them we might just end up seeing very soon. I'm not sure. But if they want to just start focusing, individual shows for certain packs, like a SpongeBob universe pack, a universe focus pack dedicated to each individual NCU, they can definitely get it in. But this is just an idea, just some of the potential characters they can get in. They got a lot of characters that they can get from these shows, but I wanted to do something different to focus SpongeBob's world for some future characters that they can get into the game. So it's not just protagonists, it's antagonists to stack up on a roster, because it's not that many villains. So they can definitely get more. Vexus can be one of them. From Jenny, you only got one rep from her show, for example. So Vexus can get in. They got a lot of different shows that it's just like I said earlier in the beginning, Danny Phantom is one of those shows that has a lot of characters too, with lots of character potential. But I think the potential is still there. I just hope that maybe some of these characters they can get in. But if anything, we'll probably end up seeing Squidward and Mr. Krabs very soon.